In this video, we're going to continue with our last video where we created a specimen screen. We're going to add a little bit more plumbing this time though, so that we can get ready for uploading an image. So we left off with the ability to select a specimen from the list here. What we eventually want to do is add a little piece down here where we can upload an image as well. So right now, when you select, nothing happens. And we want to make something happen. Let's take a look at our specimen XHTML page, and we'll see that we have a little Ajax nugget on here that is telling us to go to specimenvo.onRowSelect when we select an item. Luckily, we can borrow some of what we did in the search plant manage bean because we had a very similar onRowSelect here. The only difference is, in this case, this method is handling a plant, where in the specimen page, we're going to be dealing with a specimen. So a plant is a scientific definition of a plant with its Latin name and characteristics of origin, edible parts, so on and so forth, where a specimen is a specific plant that we can touch. So I'm going to copy this onRowSelect, and let's make sure it meets the same syntax here that we have in our specimen XHTML. OnRowSelect, the capitalization is the same. The only difference is the manage bean that we're calling this on, and that manage bean is this thing called Specimen VO. So I go to Specimen VO, and I'm going to paste in my onRowSelect, and this is going to receive an event object that's going to contain the row that we selected. But remember, again, in this case, we're selecting a specimen, not a plant, so I'm going to change this to specimen. And we'll change everything else accordingly. Specimen equals specimen event.getNewObject. Okay, we're going to want to change something here as well. The specimen vo.setPlant. Actually, we're already in the specimen vo, and again, we're not setting a plant, we're setting a specimen. But we do want to indicate that this is the currently selected specimen. So we are going to invoke the setSpecimen method just like so. We could do a simple assignment, but a lot of times it's a good idea to invoke a setter method when we can. Okay. And we don't need to redirect anything. We're going to try and just stay on the same page. So I'm going to take out the redirection, and I'm going to snap a breakpoint. And here all we're doing is saying when we select an item in the table, let's call the setSpecimen method so that our managed bean knows which specimen is selected. And I will save. Okay, I'll compile, restart, and we'll take a look. Now the page is reloaded. I'm going to hit submit, and I'm going to choose our Pleasant Ridge Red Oak. It's going to go through a series of breakpoints here that I'm going to play through, and then render the page. Now with the page rendered, we see row ID number 2. I'm going to click on that, remember 3924 and 8450. And I go back and take a look. Our breakpoint is toggle. And I see specimen. I'm going to go ahead and play through this. Specimen. And if I mouse over, we should see our values again. I can also see this in the variables tab. Sure enough, 3924 and minus 8450. And I'm going to choose play. And so back to our screen now. And we'll see that sure enough, this item has been selected. While I'm here cleaning things up, I also want to add the other two attributes of our specimen that we're not showing yet, which is planted by and planted date. That's going to be fairly straightforward and won't even require restarting because I'm simply going to change the specimen XHTML table. So click in just one moment. And I simply need to add 2 more columns. So I'll borrow this column text that we have here. Control C and Control V twice. And one we're going to change to planted by. And of course we'll change the ognal syntax here as well. Instead of description, it's going to be planted by. And then the other one, we're going to change to planted date. And again, the attribute that we're asking for is going to be planted date, and save. And just a quick double check to make sure planted by and planted date, just make sure I've spelled those correctly. If not, it will give us an error. And planted by planted date looks good. So I saved the page, the specimen page. It should automatically reload, so I'm simply going to go back and hit refresh here, and with any luck, sure enough, planted by and planted date, and we see now we have our specimens. But what's important is that we also know which specimen ID was selected, and that's going to allow us to add the photo upload and then save those photos to a database. And that's where we'll pick up with our next lecture. I'll see you then.